Well, good evening, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen around the world. It is once again time for the WADcast, episode number 65. I am one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by the guys from out west. Yeehaw!
Well, actually, hi guys, Brandon here. Nice to be back. And as always, would be a little bit of an understatement. We actually, or overstatement. We actually have a return of our long lost third co-host here, Kinte. Welcome back, sir. Very fun. Welcome back to you.
Hi, how you guys doing, fellas? I am back, and I'm ready to rumble. It's time for some action.
Yeah. So we have what I hope is a good show tonight. We have some things that definitely need to be discussed. Very badly, actually, when it comes to how things are conducted on sets, amongst other topics as well. But yeah, Kinte. First off, let's get that out of the way. How have you been, man? Like, what's been new with you?
I've been just living my life. I had to take a little break just to I don't know get everything back on course with life and everything. I mean nothing bad or anything. Just a. Uh, I mean actually things have been quite pretty good. So uh, I'm just happy to be here. I missed you guys, believe it or not. I tried to come back many times, but Josh kept telling me now. Then you guys were on hiatus when I was ready to come back. So, but I'm here and I'm ready to rumble. Let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean it's definitely awesome to have you back. It's very pleasant surprise to me. Josh, like as you said, you probably told me earlier when we were on the phone, but for those who do not know, and I discussed this briefly last week, there are a lot of things going into play that I'm trying, like one of which is a project of mine and Josh that I'm trying to get off the ground, like very, very badly. Lots of lack of sleep, lots of unreturned text messages. So, and Tracy, Mom, Jimmy, everybody else has reached out to me. If I'm alive, you hear me on the show, I'm alive and well. Just been busy and sleeping when I can. But yeah, so one thing that came up, and Kente, I'm sure you've heard all about this. Josh and I were briefly discussing this earlier. This whole business with this set of what was it, Rust? I think it's called, with Alec Baldwin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Out there in New Mexico in Albuquerque, there was an incident on Thursday, yesterday, around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, where the cinematographer of the show of the movie was shot and killed, and the director was also, the director was shot as well. Like, I guess it's still a little fuzzy as to exactly what happened. There's some people are saying that there was like a live round in the what do you call it, in the chamber of the gun, but there's Hel- Helena, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I don't want to be disrespectful to her, but not exactly a common name. But she was rushed to the hospital, and she was, she died pretty much shortly after she arrived there. Um, and the director was also rushed to the hospital, I believe, is like, like making a recovery. But that's not the only issue. Um, that's a big one. But there are factors leading up to this. And Josh, you saw my post about this. Kente, I don't know how aware you are of this. I have a friend of mine who is he's an A-list cinematographer. He's a friend of mine from college, one of my closest friends out here in LA. And I'm not going to say his name because I don't know if he would get in trouble by me saying this, because he's a member of the Cinematographers Guild. So that being the case, he received a message, and it reads, "Dear such and such, we received the devastating news this evening that one of our members, Helena Hutchins, the director of photography on a production called Rust in New Mexico, died from injuries sustained on the set. Details are unclear at this moment, but we are working to learn more, and we support a full investigation into this tragic event. This is a terrible loss, and we mourn the passing of a member of our guild's family." I'm sure there was more, but that's all he posted from what he received. And then there was a team member from the Rust camera team that said that this is not an isolated incident. Apparently, this production has been hit hard with a lot of bullshit. So this message says, and this is like I assume a private message to him. The entire camera crew walked off that morning for that exact reason. Last night, we each wrote resignation letters. We cited everything from lack of payment for 3 weeks, taking hotels away despite asking for them in our deals, lack of COVID safety, and on top of that, poor gun safety, poor on-set safety, period. We wrote about this exact issue last night and walked this morning because of it. That's not in any of our papers. They brought in 4 non-union guys to replace us and tried calling the cops on us. The only people that stayed were Helena, the director of photography, and Reed, the B team Steadicam operator. And then it goes into things. I mean, it goes into what was it? I don't mean to take up so much time talking about this, guys, but it's just stuff that I've read. Like again, Kinte, I don't know if you've heard about any of this stuff at all.
Sure, yeah.
But this gentleman says, I'm working on the show in New Mexico with him, and the producers on that movie are treating the local crew like fucking dog shit. There's my one per episode, guys. I'm sorry, but I'm quoting this. I know last week I said I try to control my mouth, but
I'm not even going to count that one. It's
okay.
too important.
Okay, great. So I still have one, guys. Haha. Absolute dog shit. At the moment, I'm fighting to get my crew on this movie. Hotel rooms when we can. When we go long or are too tired to drive the hour back from location to Albuquerque. So this location is actually out in the desert. Albuquerque is a thriving town. People that don't know Albuquerque, it's where they filmed Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. That's all Albuquerque. But this is out in the desert. So it goes on though and says they either say no or offer a garbage roadside motel that's used as a homeless shelter, which there's plenty of those. In fact, the line producer on the flick complained the motel she booked charges her $10 more per night than the homeless. They haven't even paid the crew a proper check. My B team second had to sleep in his car on Sunday because they won't give him a room, and he was too tired to drive the hour home. Nobody in production should have to sleep in the car in the cold in their car at base camp to not die driving home. This one girl says, call your BA, report it. Do not accept this, but you have to call. And he responds to this by saying, already have called my BA. He is fully involved. The show keeps arguing they don't have to do anything because contract minimums don't force them to. In fact, in the low budget agreement, a hotel doesn't need to be provided until 14 worked hours, which is very true. And this show's doing their hour lunches, so it requires a 15-hour lapse day before they will volunteer a hotel. My BA tried to get them to agree to a 13 hours elapsed, and they agreed to 13 hours worked. So here's where my crews at this show and the unions and this unions get involved. 12.5-hour days worked with an hour lunch, 2 hours of driving a day, leaving exactly 8 hours of time not at work. Most folks on my show are getting 5 hours sleep a night. And this is all from the producers of this production. There is no way in hell that every single possible, safety measure is being taken into consideration if that is what these people are dealing with. And unfortunately, Josh, you and I spoke of this earlier, a lot of these studios that are cranking out movies now to get caught back up with the money that they were faced with losing during the pandemic and the lockdowns, they are working people to the bone to get these things pushed out to where they can start making the money back that they were losing by either not releasing movies or by putting them into streaming. And these people are. This is why that whole strike even happened. This is all just a factor of it. This isn't just with streaming. People, anyone listening to this podcast, I need you guys to understand. I know people who are absolutely against the strike, but of course, those people do not and have never worked on a film set ever in their lives. Probably had never even stepped foot on one. If you have ever been on a film set, absolute care and concern is always the very first thing that is taken into consideration, or should be. And unfortunately, that's just not what's happening. And because of this carelessness, a young woman, a mother, and a wife has lost her life. And you have Alec Baldwin, love him or hate him. It is a direct callback to what happened with The Crow, and I hope to God that he doesn't suffer half the psychiatric effects that the actor had to suffer when he accidentally killed Brandon Lee. It is a horrible and tragic event, and it's disgusting the way in which it's being handled, and even more so that it could have been very easily avoided. So
All right,
that's what I have
comments
there.
are starting up. Do you want to go ahead and get those, Brandon?
Oh yeah, let me go ahead and pull this up here. Sorry guys, just multitasking here. So, Carlos, that was normal for me back in the day. I have 3 months, 16-hour days, usually 6 days, but non-union. And and Carlos, that's the thing. 16-hour days are not uncommon, but things have changed quite a bit, and exhaustion, and especially long drives to and from set. Driving an hour out into the desert from Albuquerque. I'll tell you right now, my mom lives in Albuquerque. You are surrounded by nothing but vast desert. And after 16 hours driving through the deserts and everything else, like dealing with all this stuff, there is already a danger there. Second, with the production crew, like they're working ways around not taking care of the crew members. And unfortunately, with that, hiring non-union people, and even people, I think I read somewhere that the person that they hired to even tend to the props are it's one of those deals where they were not experienced in it. So I mean, you have all these situations going on, and it's all just a recipe for disaster. I've worked on film sets myself where I've had to work 16-hour days. I get it. And like working on a film set, it's exciting. A lot of times you don't until you really start doing it all the damn time, the time flies. You always have something to do. But it is exhausting. And I don't even know how long they were keeping these people working like this. What do you call it? I don't even know how long they were keeping people working like this before all this happened. So, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty much like what I've got there.
Well, hello.
Carlos chimes in with, I worked as an art director back from 1990 to 2002. Don't get me wrong, it sucked. He continues, I will say we always had our meals.
Yeah, but well, I mean, it's like,
He says, when I heard when I heard no lunches, that is insane. And we've talked about it here on the WADcast, especially on the episode where we basically went through the steps on how to make your own movie with little to no money and not guaranteeing that it was going to be any good. In fact, it was probably pretty guaranteed to be awful. But at the very minimal when it comes to getting a crew together, if you can't pay them, even though money is always preferred, but if you say you get your friends together and you want to make a movie and it's a non-union gig, you're not actually in the industry, you want to make a movie, feed them.
Yeah,
your crew is the movie. That's right, Carlos.
Yeah, and if you cannot afford it's like, and here's like when I filmed the Bad Agent trailer, like I directed the set and everything else. The only reason why I did not have any kind of lunch was the crew. Like I mentioned it to them a few times. Like, yeah, well, we need to get lunch. Like, we need to like have a break. But it was back to back. 2 hours for one scene. Those actors went home. 2 hours for the next scene. Those actors went home. 2 hours for the next scene. Those actors went home. Like, it was just like a revolving door for the actors needed for each scene because we were on the tight shift or tight schedule that day for like 6 hours, 6 or 7 hours. But at least even without that, like I did not know if like I was going to take the crew off for everything after they were done. It just didn't happen. Like they just all want to get back home and everything else. But I still supplied ample food to either snack on, stuff to eat, fresh platters, all this stuff, ample drinks. Go sit down if you're not on set. Sit down for a few minutes, whatever. Between breaks, sit down. Don't do anything. Just sit down. Recharge, rewind, whatever. Like, I mean, just, but I'm also worried because Alec Baldwin, because this is like this, like I said, this is a callback to what happened with Michael Massey in 1993 when he accidentally shot Brandon Lee, and I think that was from like debris in the barrel of the revolver that he was using. Something like debris was lodged in the barrel or something like that. So there's like that psychological effect there. And Carlos, you're right. Like the crew is the movie. Nothing happens without the crew. Your crew, they are your best friend. Dorothy, welcome to the show. It's good to have you here. Welcome from South Africa too. Well, welcome to our show. It's great to see you guys. But no, Carlos is right. The crew is always the backbone. They are the ones that people think it's the actors. It's not the actors. It's always the crew. You can have a top-notch actor, and you can have a shitty actor. Either way, you'll still have a movie with those actors. But if you don't have the crew, you don't have anything. Unless you're running everything yourself, which if it's like a bigger set, good luck. Directing, DP, set coordination, all that stuff, it's not happening. But like I said, like this is a callback with Michael Massey in 1993 with Brandon Lee. But in this case, it's not just one person, it's two people. And it's Alec Baldwin involved in both of them. One person's dead, the other person's like badly injured. I can only imagine, I don't even want to imagine rather, how that man feels. And I'm not even a fan of his, but my God, like my heart goes out to him, and families of everyone involved. And especially it goes out to the crew because no crew should ever have to suffer like that. So, but
can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm sorry, I've been rambling most of the show here, so I'll let you guys take over.
No. The first thing I thought about was Brandon Lee, right away, and there's a long history of tragedies happening on sets. You can even remember the Twilight Zone movie. It wasn't a gun, but there was also on Vampire in Brooklyn. That stunt woman who died in that tragic accident. I mean, you just go down the list, and it happens a lot more frequent than people realize. Though stuff like that, but it seems like this particular production had way more than just your average stuff that happened. And isn't it a Netflix production?
I'm not too sure, actually.
I could have sworn that this is something that's being made for Netflix, which Netflix haven't had it. If that's true, Netflix has not had
they're not doing well.
a good week, So, but I mean, like I said, it's very sad, and nobody ever wants to see anything like that happen to anyone, and just what you saw. I don't know if you saw the images of oh my God, Alec Baldwin. Sorry, I had a brain fart for a second. You could tell that he's quite saddened by what happened, as he, obviously, you would think he would be,
Yeah.
Very tragic, and I don't know, man. Like honestly, I don't even know how he's gonna finish I mean, he's a pro, so I'm sure he'll do what he has to do. But I don't even know how you go forward, and how do you even feel comfortable going forward? Um, you know, feeling safe. Like I don't even know how, but hopefully, he'll be able to move forward. I know there's an investigation as well, so I'm interested how what's going to happen with that. You know?
Well, let's
Yeah, I'm
get
definitely
caught up
very.
with
Um,
the chat real quick.
Go ahead.
Carlos says if a crew member burns out as a domino effect, I can definitely relate to that. Seeing it happen. Dorothy chimes in. Even in South Africa with a zero budget, everyone gets fed and watered well. So sad about the accident. Absolutely.
Absolutely,
Uh,
definitely.
Going back to Carlos, Titans had a stunt person die with my friend Isai Morales on set,
Oh wow.
and followed it up with an update. Rust, the film we're talking about, is paused indefinitely,
Yeah,
and Alec Baldwin is a producer on the film.
yeah. I mean, it's if he's a producer on the film, that's even. I mean, it's even worse. But at the same time, like, I mean, it's just God. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just.
Now, there are a
eh,
lot of fingers being pointed at this point by, of course, the armchair um, pundits, I guess you could say. Just like everything else in the world, it's become sort of a bipartisan issue, and there's name calling, and
Yep.
people, use their feelings about the actor to kind
Oh, I
of
know.
influence how they feel about the decision. Look, I'll be the first to admit I enjoy Alec Baldwin's work, but considering the things that we've heard over the years about him as a person, maybe there's a lot to be desired. But I wouldn't let that make me judge him on this incident. Because, Brandon, like you said, I wouldn't want anybody to be in a situation like this where you accidentally not only hurt but kill somebody, and someone you're working with, and the emotional weight that goes along with that.
Yeah, yeah. And see, this is what's cracking me. Like, I don't want to say cracking me up, but like, the naivete that people have towards how, like, like shots are completed and everything else. You see a lot of this. I've seen a lot of this today. Just I just happened to open up my Facebook on my phone, and the very first thing was I saw an article because it's a hot topic right now, obviously. And I saw this one comment on this article, uh, with someone saying, "Why would he be Why would he be pointing it at a cinematographer and a director, and pulling the trigger? They weren't part of the movie." And it's like, guys, okay, listen, if you've ever seen a shot in a movie where a prop gun is being pointed at the screen, at the camera, and you see that flash, it's been filmed hundreds of times. It is a very common shot in a lot of like Western movies, or in, like, if not Western movies, like a lot of the gangster movies or the mafia movies. It's happened so many times, so it's nothing new. Um, Now, that being the case, just because it happens does not mean that the guns are not checked. Usually they are checked. Usually they are checked by a prop master. They are very carefully cared for. That is why I'm saying it's very reminiscent of what happened between Michael Massey and Brandon Lee back on the set of The Crow in 1993. Because a gun in that scene was not properly checked, and a piece of debris was lodged in the barrel, which is ultimately what went into Brandon Lee's abdomen, which is eventually what killed him. So this is very reminiscent of that, and that could have very well been the case. But again, they're saying it was like a live round in the gun too. So I don't know what the deal is. It's all still very new. An investigation is going on and is being conducted. So while that's happening, we just have to wait for more details. I don't like speculation because it never really leads to where you think it's going to go. So it's really one of those, just like with Hollywood productions, it's a whole bunch of hurry up and wait right now. You just got to sit back and wait for the answers to come to you instead of making them up yourself. Now, on top of that, people are also posting, like, I've got conservative friends, I've got liberal friends, and both sides are actually making fun of Alec Baldwin, and both sides are defending him, blaming the other people for making fun of Alec Baldwin. So people are turning this into a political stunt as well, which is just as disgusting as what's currently being going on. Like, guys, I mean, think of the family members of this woman. Like, come on. There's already memes joking about her death.
That there's the anyway Danny DeVito saying, anyway, that's when I started blasting with the
Yeah.
Alex picture posted over that. Going back to the comments, Carlos says, I think film is over. You can't recover from that. They said that the crew at the time of the accident was non-union. Yeah, it's been pretty, apart from the personal stories that Brandon read earlier, there has been several reports about the crew walking out because of the awful working conditions. By the way,
This was before the getting shot, right?
yeah,
Oh yeah. This is the walkouts were leading up to this moment, and I honestly, from what it sounds like, are a direct causality of what happened with Helena. I really hope I'm pronouncing her name right.
Helena.
Uh, huh?
Helena?
Helena. I'm just saying, like, I hope I'm pronouncing her. Helena. Either way, everything that's happening is pretty much, I look at as this is a direct effect to the cause of these people walking out, and it's not the people's fault for walking out. They cannot be blamed for anything, because I've seen that too. Well, the crew just stuck around and just understood they had a job to do. It was like, well, no, they have a job, but they have to get paid too. Like,
Of course, the thing is that the crew didn't stick around. The crew wasn't there.
but that's what I'm saying. But again, the people commenting are all the keyboard warriors of Facebook that know everything.
Have never stepped foot on a set a day in their life.
Exactly. Have never once worked on an active film set, or probably even seen one for that matter. It's just really what it comes down to is the loudest mouths are always fine on the biggest wusses. I usually say it a little differently, but again, I'm working on my language. But yeah, so that's where we are right now. And Carlos just says props can touch an empty gun. I'm sorry, usually weapons masters, props usually can't touch live weapons. Props can touch an empty gun. Crew were prepping walkouts and crew switched to non-union, and a few days later this happened. Cinematographer chose to stay. She is union. And yeah, that's exactly what I was reading off. Carlos, you're absolutely right. Anna, good morning. Or well, good morning to some people here. It's good evening to me because it's 7:27 in the evening here for me and Kente out here in Los Angeles. But yeah, so you have a lot of things that really add up to this. And while blame can be pointed at certain things, at least give people like Alec Baldwin accidentally killed a woman. Give the man time to just his psyche has to be in like just shambles right now. It's not like he just shot someone yesterday. And he's like, well, I got to go back to set tomorrow. It's not how it works, guys. Like he's got to be absolutely devastated with this whole thing. But yes, if he's a producer of it, depending on what his level of being a producer is, it all comes down to like the studio, the contracts for the crews and everything else. So there's so very little in the clear right now in regards to what's going on. Even with us knowing that the crew walked off the set, that's all we know. Even with the contracts and everything else, and the lack of care concern for the crew and the gun situation, that's really all we know for certain right now. And it's all more things have to come to light through the investigation, and I'm sure more things will come to light with the crews rallying together to fight for equal pay. I mean, this is a reason why a strike almost happened, and in my mind, should have happened, because even after the deals were secured, I think it was a shitty deal that came through. So I think the crews are much better than what they got and what they continue to get. So, Dorothy, what's wrong with the industry? The industry is absolutely selfish and greedy. This is why I go more independent, and I wouldn't even call it. I wouldn't. Although Netflix hosts independent films, I would not call Netflix an independent industry studio whatsoever. Netflix is right there next to Warner Brothers and all of them. It is now like one of the giants. So it's just like it just happens to be online streaming. That's it. So
Yeah, and they're definitely not independent at all. But
so
this is a tragic situation, and I'm sure more stuff is going to come out. It doesn't look like it's going to be more things that look good for this production, but
no.
man, I didn't even know. I didn't know the negativity that was. I only knew about the unfortunate accident, but I didn't know about all the other stuff.
No, yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't know about that either. Again, like it's just having friends that work diligently in the industry. And the friend of mine that posted that, like, that posted these things on Facebook, I only shared it because he posted it and his post was public. So I assumed that's probably safe that I discussed it, but that's why I left his name out in case it was not. But it's one of those deals where.
Oh, and by the way, his name is Ridley Scott.
Yeah, Ridley Scott. If I was friends with Ridley Scott, this minuscule little production that Josh and I are trying to get out there would have long been done.
Oh, and by the way, just to let you guys know, here at the WADcast, Josh doesn't provide us with meals either. So take that, Josh.
Well, as soon as you provide some content, I'll start providing the meals.
Okay, Joshua.
Naturally, I'm still not going to do that.
Joshua. No, it's really sad though. But
Anna says that poor props department must be grieving. Union or no, they must all feel so terrible. Poor Alec. And if her life could bring about change finally, the whole industry needs to get better.
I feel bad for Alec, but real talk, I feel more sorry for her family and her kids. Like, I mean, her poor husband and
her baby.
Yeah, that. Oh my God.
The kid's not that old. The kid, from what I understand, it's a very, very young child that lost a mother for this production.
And I have friends who are cinematographers. One of my closest friends is a great female cinematographer, and I mean, you never think that your life could be in danger on the set, especially as a cinematographer, maybe like a stunt person or, so, but it's something, man. It's really something. It gives you a lot of pause, I know right after the Brandon Lee incident happened, there was a huge fear that went over the community, the Hollywood community about safety. And then for a while, there was people that didn't even want to do anything with guns, and they had to show that what is safe. And I'm sure that people, obviously, it's been so much time in between that, so people feel much more safer. But just think what this will happen, what this will do to other sets, like a John Wick movie, for example, where guns are just flying all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Or something of that ilk. I mean, it's definitely, people are gonna definitely give it a lot of pause. Like, the good thing about that particular production is that a stuntman is the writer director of that. So, he really cares about safety. You know what I mean? So, because that's what he did, until he became a writer director. So,
yeah.
But one thing I just want to say is there is Mission Impossible, also Fast and Furious, yes. there's a lot of pressure working in that industry on getting it done. Getting it done. We're gonna lose our light. How many times you worked on sets? We're gonna lose our light. We got to get,
Oh,
uh,
absolutely, absolutely.
and we only have 10 more days to get in all of our shots. And to be honest with you, with that kind of pressure, you know, there's a lot of things that could have went bad on other stuff that were fortunate nothing happened. And this is bound to happen with that kind of, money is everything. So like how many times have you been on a set where you felt super duper pressure to get your shots in, because there wasn't time, they couldn't afford, so
In May during my trailer shoot, because I was all coming out of my pocket.
right, right. I'll be honest with you, things that I've been involved with where I was at the lead. Now we weren't shooting guns or anything like that, but I definitely would work people past the point of exhaustion to try to get stuff done. So I think people should realize when you see a movie with awesome stunts and even minor stunts, just realize that people are putting their lives on the line to make this thing happen. I know, like Jackie Chan, for example, we kind of laugh at the fact that they won't insure him, and that, and same thing with Tom Cruise, and that the running joke is that they're going to die making a movie. But this kind of brings it all into perspective when you see this, and they weren't even stunt people. It's crazy.
Sorry, I have my thing on mute. Have my microphone on mute apparently. But that's the thing. Like, I mean, people are always putting their lives on line for your entertainment. So, I mean, all these people, like, if you just think about it for a second, people use the internet as a forum to bash these movies. Oh, this movie sucked. This movie sucked. Well, yeah, the movie might have sucked, but give credit where it's due. You still went out there. You were mildly entertained at the very least. You enjoyed the stunts. People risk their lives for this, sucky movie. So when things like this happen, they treat it with such little heart. It's appalling to me. Like, I mean, like no one's death should be the butt of a joke.
Oh no, not at all. I wouldn't even think about making a joke about anything like that.
But and it really just drives the point home where, again, this woman, she had a child, a little girl. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, I don't want to say little girl, little boy. She had a child. So there's no telling. There's no telling at all where this is going to go. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. There's no telling where this is going to go. But to make memes and everything else out of something where a woman died and all that stuff, I remember I said something to somebody and they called me a snowflake. Like, well, no, I'm not. I'm not a snowflake. I'm just not a monster.
Right.
Like, there are things to take into account here. And this is a woman who's not going to be going home to her kid, to her husband, to her life. All this stuff. And none of that's going to happen. So you have all this to take into account, and the fact that it's become like an ongoing joke now. God, and I'm sorry, I'm ignoring the comment section here. So Carlos says, always dangers everywhere. Electrical things hanging over you. Absolutely. And Anna has a few pointers here. I was non-equity assistant stage manager for a while, aka intern. I know the feeling. So I feel sorry for any interns in that movie, which they are always treated like pretty rough. Like, not necessarily like horribly, but pushed to the very limits of their capabilities. Production assistants, guys, you are the unsung heroes. I was one for a few years. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. The stunts are amazing. So much work and prep went into Fast and Furious, latest movie with a big truck. That's why I stay through the credits whenever possible. All those names and more work so hard. And that's actually pretty sweet of you. If you do that, that's actually pretty awesome because you take the time to acknowledge all the little people that are vital to the success of these movies. And then she goes on to say, "No memes for this one. It's not right." And I appreciate you saying that. I agree with you. It's not right. The fact that people are making memes over Alec Baldwin's like accidentally killing someone, it's not only affecting Alec Baldwin, it's affecting the husband of the woman who reads these articles. Because you know he does. You know the families do. And they have to see these shitty ass people posting these, here's my one, fucked up memes. It's absolutely messed up.
Let me mark that down. Brandon used his one. Okay.
So it's atrocious to me, and I cannot. You know, if not stooping to that level for my own sake of entertainment makes me a snowflake, then you know what? I will gladly take on the title because the other situation is I could be one of those people that post memes to poke fun at the death of somebody else. So I'd rather know that I'm not a piece of shit.
It doesn't make you a snowflake.
Like I said,
Being friends with Josh makes you a snowflake.
That's right. And
Oh,
since we're on the topic of me, I do want to bring to your guys' attention this article from Variety.com
okay.
by Elise Schaefer, uh, posted a little over 5 hours ago. And I'm going to read some of this here. The gun handed to Alec Baldwin on the set of Western film Rust was declared safe by the production's assistant director, according to an affidavit filed by the Santa Fe County Sheriff's Office, obtained by the New York Times and Associated Press. According to the affidavit, the AD shouted, "Cold gun" on set, meaning that the prop gun was safe to use and did not contain any live ammo. However, when Baldwin pulled the gun's trigger, it fired a projectile that fatally struck cinematographer Helena Hutchins in the chest and hit director Joel Souza's shoulder. The Times reported that the document says Hutchins was standing in front of Souza at the time of the incident. The AD did not know live rounds were in the prop gun, and the weapon was readied by an armorer beforehand, the affidavit stated, according to the Times. The affidavit filed in a Santa Fe court on Friday also contained a search warrant requesting to investigate the set building where the incident happened, which was granted by a state magistrate judge. The search will also include taking biological evidence from the prop gun, reviewing any footage. After the shot was fired, the affidavit states that the armorer was given the prop gun and then removed the, quote, spent casing from the weapon before giving it to the police. Baldwin was wearing clothing consistent with the costume for the film, old Western-style clothing, but changed, and also gave his clothes to the police, who said they appeared to have bloodstains, as the Times reported. According to the Albuquerque Journal, which obtained audio of the 911 call from the set, a woman who identified herself as a script supervisor, supervisor, I had to call this one in. She said, "We've had 2 people accidentally shot by a prop gun. We need help immediately." When asked if the gun was loaded with a real bullet, the caller replied, "I can't tell you that." And this expletive AD that yelled at me at lunch, asking about revisions, this mother expletive, he's supposed to check the guns. He's responsible for what happens on set. Everything else is kind of like, statements, Baldwin talking about his shock and whatnot. But I gave you the bulk of the actual.
If that's the case, that's absolutely that's even worse. Like, I mean, it's the fact that someone like so. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's just so I'm on the right page here. Someone removed the shell casing from the gun before handing the gun over.
Clear the round.
Okay. Wouldn't that be considered tampering?
It doesn't say if he did it while the police were present, to make sure that it was safe to take in. But it just said that given that the armorer was given the prop gun and then removed the spent casing from the weapon before giving it to the police.
Jesus.
Now, there are, again, like I said, a lot of people pointing fingers. Um, the armchair people, the keyboard warriors, as you put them, believe it's an actor's duty to check and recheck the weapon as they're on set and handling it. I don't know how I feel about that in particular. After all, there are a couple of people that are supposed to handle it and be the experts.
Yeah.
But then again, you hear, I saw a video a while back, talking about Keanu Reeves and his gun etiquette on screen, especially as John Wick. There were a few examples of where just in the middle of an action scene, he has to reload and he always checks the chamber or something like that. I'm not a gun guy, so I'm not going to be able to speak like an expert. But the idea was that Keanu Reeves went through the training. He has the experience with a weapon, and he puts that into his character on film. And I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with the idea of, say, an actor going through safety courses to not necessarily do the job of somebody else. There is an armorer on set, right? But at least for character's sake, to be able to have those little idiosyncrasies, those habits in weapon handling, it I think it adds to a movie, much like they were talking about with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that would have made a difference in this scenario, and I'm not saying that it was a failure on the part of Alec Baldwin for not being well versed with the weapon that he was handling, but there seemed to be a lot of things, as Carlos mentioned in the chat, a lot of dominoes that set this whole production up for failure. And Brandon, you mentioned it a little while ago. I'm going to pull back the curtain on the WADcast just a tad bit. We were on hiatus, as everybody knows. And while we were out, IATSE was, they approved a strike if needed.
Yeah.
And a lot of it had to do with these very factors, right?
Yeah.
That crew was getting basically crapped on with these productions that are rushing. They're trying to get their films out because there was such a long delay between productions. So everybody's kind of getting worked to death, and that was going to be one of the topics that we had when we came back. But in that meantime of, we're planning on coming back, and now, in fact, we had a completely different show planned for tonight, but the headlines beg to differ on that.
Yep.
But
And the thing is,
yeah, that
like,
was going to be our
I
topic.
mean, it's like, but it's like you have things like going back to sorry, 1 second, actually played something not intending to. Here we go. So you have things like there. It's not a long-standing history, but like there's another situation outside of Brandon Lee's death in 1993. In 1984, I looked this up earlier for tonight, and I accidentally closed a tab. I just pulled it back up. Actor John Eric Hexum died after accidentally shooting himself in the head with a prop gun blank while pretending to play Russian roulette with a .44 Magnum in the set of the television series Cover Up. So people saying like, well, blanks of a gun should be checked. Even a blank can kill you if it's close enough to you. It is still gunpowder with the capability of pushing out a bullet at full speed. It just usually doesn't do that. it is very possible for people to die with this kind of stuff. So it's possible this was just a simple accident. I'm curious as to why there would be a live round in a prop gun. And people say like, oh, well, prop guns aren't real guns. Yes, they are. You have the rubber guns, but when you have a gun, like, those, like, the stunt guns are usually like rubber or like some kind of a fake gun. Like it might be an airsoft gun, something like that. But when they need the gun to fire, it is a very real gun. It's still a prop, but it is a real gun. The same capabilities to fire a bullet like any other gun.
Head back to the chat, and Carlos is chiming in here.
Now, weapons master usually has to be certified if it's a union film, which you are correct. A prop master usually doesn't have that unless he got certified, which again is absolutely correct. I don't believe TikTok. I'm not too sure what TikTok is. I'm not too sure what's going on with TikTok. Only for
and that's
one
a
or
comment
two
from
films.
Anna a few moments ago.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at that article. I've just completely overlooked that comment. Let me go back here to Anna. Sorry, I promise I'm not ignoring you here. Let's see. Memes. I was at a theater. Where's the TikTok thing?
Anna says prop guys on TikTok say otherwise, that it's the prop man's role to make it all ready. And that's
it is like the props. When it comes to filming, yes, there's a prop master that has to have the props ready to go, or like at least supply the props. But when it comes to an actual weapon like a gun, there is always a weapons master, or should be a weapons master, like right there, right off camera, supervising every action that the actor takes with that gun to make sure they're handling it in a safe manner. That is what a weapons master does.
But it has to be, restated that this particular set, that this particular movie was
cutting corners
in the middle of a staff walkout because of safety issues.
Yep, and the studio showed little care nor concern.
That
the
a legal affidavit explicitly says Alec Baldwin was told the gun was cold.
Yep. So I mean, like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, the treatment of the crew is a direct causality of what happened here. I'm not saying Alec Baldwin was to blame, being that he's a producer, but I'm saying that the studio itself, the one supplying all the money, the line producer, getting the budget together, the person approving of that budget at the studio, the executive producers that did not secure the finances for the crew to be able to like live near, like, like have close quarters on the set, like all the big movie stars got. All the little people that make these films possible, the crew members were treated like shit. So they walked. Like, like not getting paid on time, all that stuff. I would have walked too. Hell, if I'm owed a bonus at my job, I do not go to work. You owe me money, I'll be back when my money's ready for me to, get back to work. Very simple. So that being the case, I don't blame them for walking. But because of them walking, the studio did not want, or I guess probably felt they didn't have time to really, make these changes happen, which the studio has the finances to get a few hotel rooms. But like that one person said, one of the producers was even complaining because getting these people a hotel would have cost $10 more. So they didn't do it.
Wow.
It's $10 per person. So it's like there's a lot that led up to this. I blame the studio. And this is exactly why I absolutely support that strike. And this is also the exact reason why, as to why I have yet to pay my Netflix subscription.
Wow.
Like, there needs to be some change. Like, I honestly, when certain movies come out, if I don't agree with them, I don't watch them. If a movie comes out that I'm excited about, no, I'll watch it. But if it's something that, from a studio that's absolutely shitting on the employees, I don't need to support the studio. It's just that simple for me.
And it
So
asked, is the strike going on yet?
the
Apparently,
strike was averted. They reached an agreement,
yeah,
and
and
it's
it's
not much
a
of an
3-year
agreement.
deal.
It's like a 3-year deal. I'd have to like look at the specs of the agreement. A friend of mine, this girl Jessica, she was she's worked as a production assistant on mine and Mark's productions. She's awesome. She's like a background actress and everything else, but she knows the specs of this agreement. And so I'd have to ask her exactly what they were because I looked it up, but I don't remember where I found it. But it wasn't good. Um, but it's just like they reached something that they kind of met on level ground with, but I think they're still in the process of negotiating. Oh, okay. Carlos just said I think they are reviewing the agreement, but not signed off yet. Yeah. So they're closing in on a deal, and I have a feeling like this is going to give crew members and employees a little bit more, standing with what they want. Because this
But
is
it's
also
still
that
going to
could have
be.
very easily been averted if they actually took the time to plan this. But this also goes back to what I was saying. These studios are in a rush to get things done because they've had a year and a half or so off of filming or with minimal filming, and they need to push products back out there. So in that rush, they're neglecting key facets, i.e., the crew members.
Hmm.
The
So,
people that make it all possible.
so
So
in closing about this situation, what do you think is going to happen going forward with it?
me or Josh?
Right, either one.
No. Well, Josh, what do you think?
Well, the cynic in me says nothing. It's something we've seen before. And yeah, things change for a little bit, but they always seem to go back to status quo. So I don't expect any wide or broad industry reforms from this. Maybe some temporary adjustments to how things are done, but that's all I see.
Yeah.
How about you, Brandon?
Well, I mean, I would like to say that this is an eye-opening event for studios, but rich people don't really have their eyes opened unless their wallets are directly affected, and this is one of many productions. So I think that they'll post the usual bullshit like, "Oh, it's such a sad loss for our community. Our hearts go out to the family." Blah blah blah, like damage control, and then right back to shitting on the little people.
Mm.
I think that they might, and if they do behave, I think that they would probably change briefly, long enough to make themselves look good, and then I think it would go back to being shit. Um, that's just how I see it. Like, I mean, it's like people in the suits, the fancy cars, and the mansions in Malibu and Beverly Hills, they do not care. They just don't. Most of them, a few might, but most do not. So I don't see any ounce of change really coming, and I hope to God this strike happens. I hope that Hollywood comes to a standstill. I hope productions come to a standstill because people deserve better than what they're being treated with. And no production is worth the loss of a person's life. So,
And it says they need to pay money, uh, special effects, and make these gaping safety problems to change. Carlos says, "Yep, it's like when kids get killed with gun violence and gun laws remain the same. A lot of talk, but no action." Anna responds, "It's not the laws that are the problem; it's enforcement of laws already on the books." That's going into a conversation for a completely different show,
oh yeah,
not on this network. So we're going to leave that there. But the idea, though, that whenever something terrible happens, band-aids are ordered, but that's it. Nothing ever seems to change on a granular level or in the DNA of the industry. I should say it all just winds up being the same in the end until it happens again. And even once you would think would be enough to okay, I just keep going back to this question in my mind. Why would someone call the gun clear? Did they just not check it?
I mean, probably like in a rush to get things done. Like, I mean, like, was the director being pushy about like meeting up with the schedule? Like, there's so many factors that could have been put in place. But
It just blows my mind. I can't stop thinking about that.
see, here's what cracks me up. Accidents happen all the time. They happen all the time in production. And some of those times it comes at the expense of another person's life, sometimes two people. And there's been things that have happened over the years that studios have quote unquote learned so much from, only to repeat them. So in '84, you had that guy John Eric Hexum, the guy that shot himself by accident with a 44, like during a game around a Russian relay in the show Cover Up. Brandon Lee in 1993. 2014, an assistant camera operator, Sarah Jones, was struck and killed by a train on the Georgia set of Midnight Rider, of which, the director, Randall Miller, actually pled guilty to manslaughter, involuntary manslaughter, and served jail time. Um, 2008, you had a stunt person that was killed, or either a crew member or stunt person, I forget who, was killed on the set of The Dark Knight during an explosion, and I think it was the scene where the judge's car blows up. Someone was killed in that scene. Harrison Ford fell and broke his leg on the Millennium Falcon. Not funny, but whatever. In The Force Awakens, two pilots were killed in the Tom Cruise movie American Made. And 2017, S.J. Harris died during a scene in Deadpool 2. A lot of, and also in 2017, what was it? John Bernecker died from a 22-foot fall from the balcony on the set of The Walking Dead. I mean, and these studios always learn. They always learn from these mistakes. And accidents can and will happen, but carelessness should not be an excuse. For stunt people, they know what they sign up for. They're risking their lives to bring people entertainment, willingly doing so. Crew members should not be on that list at all. Not to say that some people should die making films. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying it's more, I guess, I don't want to say acceptable, but I don't know. It's it's easier to digest because a stunt person's a stunt person. I'm surprised Jackie Chan's never died. Although that man's broken how many bones now?
I think all of them.
All of them, yeah.
Well, I think that's a great point. Great place to jump out of here. I hope everybody learned a little something. I guess I don't know. This is definitely a tragic situation and one we hope will never be repeated. So I am just going to say, as the final word, treat your people well, no matter what job they have on the set. They're human beings. They deserve to be treated as such, especially when they're the experts that make your movie happen. Kente, now that you're back, tell us all about where people can find you on social media and in the entertainment world. What are you doing now that you're back?
You can find me at Kente F on Twitter, Kente Ferguson on Instagram, And the new website is going to be the indie radio .com, and that'll be up
Ooh.
soon. So, and we're going to be writing blogs and talking about these different uh, stories, and it should be very, 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 very cool.
Is it safe to say that we could be announcing stuff in the near future?
Yes, yes, yes.
Outstanding. Brandon, where
So
can people follow you on social media when you're not being banned?
when I'm not being banned. And so I've never been banned on Instagram yet. So you can find me under bjacksman on Instagram. But you can also find me on our page, the WADcast, on Instagram. You'll notice that with our little black picture with a white banner that says WADcast in it. But you can also find us on our website that I am going to get back into working on sometime this week, which is thewadcast.com. Don't go to wadcast.com because there's no page there, and it's for you can buy it for for $2,000 apparently. But go to thewadcast.com. That is our page that we have copyrighted and trademarked. So yeah, you can go find us there for any updates. I would not recommend doing it tonight because it's not updated. It's been updated. It's not been updated for like I think 8 months now. But sometime this week it will get done. And that's really where you can find me. You might be able to find me on Facebook, but I really don't. You know, I really don't want you to. But you can because I also comment once in a while on our Wadcast page. So if you guys want to do a little Facebook stalking, you'll find me some of your friend requests. I most likely won't approve it because I don't approve really any friend requests. But it's always good to have you guys in our chat and just hang out with us. So it goes to Carlos and Anna. You guys have been awesome for jumping in and joining in on this conversation. I appreciate your talking points. And Kente, welcome back to the show. It's good to have you back, brother.
Yay!
And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So, Josh, if you'd like to give your little Full House ending with some sad, sappy like music.
Oh, no, no music. No music.
Oh, thank the hell God. So go ahead and tell Michelle the lessons that we've learned from the episode. And yeah.
Well, first of all, I have to get my plugs in. So if you like the things that I have to say, you can follow me on Twitter at skitcomic, SKITCOMIC. Okay, got to be honest. I'm not a prolific tweeter, but you know what? I'd still, appreciate the follow, I suppose. I'll follow you back. That's, from what I understand, what you're supposed to do. I have a TikTok. Yeah, my sister forced me to get one. Semicore Studios. And one of these days I might post something. So check it out. That's something people do, right?
And there is one more thing here. It just came up. There's a show, The Rookie, with Nathan Fillion. Nathan,
Mhm.
whatever his name is. Just came up. I appreciate seeing stuff like this. Sorry, I know we're ending the show here. But The Rookie to stop using live weapons in response to Russ tragedy. So some stuff's already happening, which is good. But we'll see if Netflix actually decides to learn anything from this. We'll see.
I
But go
haven't
ahead. I'm
seen
sorry.
Netflix anywhere on um, the production credits.
Okay, well, they may not be Netflix. Whatever studio is funding this.
El Dorado Pictures is the main production company.
Okay, well, whoever's doing it, I hope they learn something. Because yeah, but that's all I got. I'm sorry.
Okay, let's see where I was. Was I? If you want to throw a buck in the coffers, there's a Patreon, patreon.com/semicord, whatever. I'm not prone to sending people there. And I really don't know how to run it, but it's there. What have you? What I will tell you about is that right there, tpublic.com. It has some pretty cool shirts on it and cool designs that you can put on a bunch of different things. So check out the merch if you're feeling so bold. Don't forget to follow the Wadcast on Facebook. Give it a like. That way you can be updated whenever the Wadcast goes live every Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And follow Semicore Studios, where all of the Semicore Studio shows are broadcast. If you are somebody that likes to listen to an audio only version and don't feel like jumping in the awesome chat that we had tonight, then guess what? This show is available wherever all fine podcasts are sold, generally a day or two after we broadcast live. So Friday, that would make it available Saturday, Sunday ish. Yeah, and if you are downloading the show, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe. That way, everybody else can see what you think about the WADcast. But now, Michelle, it's time for you to go to bed. And that's a Full House reference, by the way, for those of you that might not be privy. Brandon always compares my final thoughts to Danny Tanner giving the kids.
Well, one of the
little
adults,
moral.
not just Dan. Listen, Joey even once in a while gave his lessons for whatever reason. But it was usually like Uncle Jesse or Danny Tanner that did it.
I thought Michelle was your girlfriend.
Fair enough. So I'm going to say, honey, you have dreams and you want to follow them. Whether it's write a movie, make a movie, TV show, book, whatever it is, the time to start doing it is now. Do it now. Don't wait till tomorrow. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Get started now. Even if you're just taking out an index card, writing down the title of the thing you want to do, start it. Because once you get started, it's going to start snowballing. It's going to start building momentum. And next thing you know, after a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, you have something. But if you don't do anything, you'll have nothing but a dream. So don't waste time. The only thing standing between you and your dreams is you. So suck it up, get to work, and become tomorrow's artist today. So once again, thank you all for joining us on the WADcast, episode number 65. Hope you had a good time. And for Brandon and Kinte, I'm Josh. We will see you next week.